Retirement can kill your marriage. Pretty bold statement. We recently interviewed a therapist, and her quote was this: even the strongest of marriages are tested during retirement.
I mean, think about your marriage up until retirement. Sure, there were bumps along the way, and there were stressful times, and hopefully there was also some joy.
But one or both of you had the distraction of work, right? You had relationships, work friends, you had fulfillment, you had purpose every day.
And then, bam, you retire, just like we did. Friday, December 29th, 2018. And Monday morning, we found ourselves sitting across from each other, having a morning coffee, and we said, now what? What are you doing today? What are you doing today? So it is a huge transition, and it can absolutely create such stress for your marriage.
And you know, the big change that takes place is the 800-pound gorilla in the room is time. In retirement, you may spend more time together than you ever have before.
You will spend more time together than you ever have before.
You may.
No, you will. Because, I mean, I'm thinking of us and all of our friends. That's the hard, not a hard fact. It is a hard fact.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing, though. But it can be a challenge. I mean,
Right.
We have had some of the greatest times in the last 4 years, but we've also had a lot of challenges figuring out how do we fit in together in this new phase of life.
Yeah, today we want to make sure you don't make some of the common mistakes that we made when you retire. We want you to come away from this video with a heightened awareness of critical things that you can control as you move through this phase of retirement with your partner.
So why does this matter? I mean...
Well, it's a long period of time. I mean, many of us have 20 or 30 years ahead of us together with all of this day-to-day time.
So think about that. I know my career, well, if you think of life as three phases, you have, up until college, and then you get in your career and you get married, and that for me was like 38, 39 years.
Right.
Now we have 30 more.
I know.
It's a lot of time to spend together without having any other distractions.
Yeah.
The other thing is about divorce.
Right.
The divorce rates in America are actually down. But gray divorce is dramatically up, and that's people getting divorced over the age of 55. And it's sad that you spend your whole life together building your nest egg, and then you hit retirement, and now all of a sudden you don't get along anymore.
Right.
And you get divorced.
Right. And the other thing is, just your overall happiness factor. So many retired people are portrayed, or older people are portrayed as unhappy or grumpy or curmudgeoned or whatever they are. And the fact of the matter is you have a choice for the next 30 years to choose your attitude. And it's important.
Yeah, we want to talk about that today. We don't want you to be that unhappy, miserable couple out to dinner that are sitting there in their phones. They're not talking. They're not learning new things together. They're not trying new things together. They're not putting the effort into the marriage that they should be. And you need to put effort into your marriage all the time, your entire life. But particularly now in retirement, because things do change.
Absolutely. So let's go through some of the common mistakes people make that you can definitely avoid. The first and foremost thing is you have to communicate effectively. The single most important predictor of success in your relationship as you enter retirement is communication.
Listening really well, not interrupting.
Right.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Being disinterested.
Right.
Providing a solution to what it is you're talking to me about, and you don't even want a solution, you just want to talk to me. And the other big thing, we have a video on this called react versus respond.
Right.
When you and I are talking to each other, the tendency is to react to what I said, or
Right.
I react what you said. It's better just to respond. And sometimes the response should be nothing.
Because
just
really,
give it time.
Poor communication can ruin your relationship, and you have all of this time together with all of these avenues and opportunities for good or bad communication.
Right.
On the other hand, effective communication, responding with care, being an active listener, giving full focus to what your partner is saying with no technology interruptions, and using a term or a technique called inquisitive inquiry when you're talking about desires or fears that each of you may have.
Yeah, and
those are some important things that you can do to be effective.
And that's just asking more questions. Jody's talking to me about something. She's not looking for a solution, but asking more questions.
Right.
Why do you feel that way?
Right.
What
More
do you think you
open-ended
need?
questions.
More open-ended questions
Right.
to dig deeper on what the issue really is. That will bring you closer together than you've been in a long time.
Right.
Now, the other thing that's really important, particularly, and I think this is really hard for men, but really being able to, in this phase of your life, with your wife or your husband, whoever it is, your partner, dropping your fear and becoming vulnerable. Really being open and honest, me being open and honest with Jody about what my needs are, why I'm struggling right now, really letting my heart open up and tell her what's going on, because the fear is that I'll be judged or she'll jump all over me or say, isn't that ridiculous? You need to drop that fear and trust each other.
Yeah, and I somewhat disagree with your instinct that it's harder for men than it is for women. And we debate vulnerability in our house quite often, the definition of, and, I think as long as you have a safe space, men and women are at the same level of dropping their guard and becoming vulnerable.
It's just hard for me. And the men that
it's hard for women too.
Okay, well,
So
I've never been a woman and you've never been a man.
Right.
So, but I see women are more, we're not going to debate this here, are we?
We debate this in our house all the time.
Yeah,
Brene Brown started this debate in our house.
So, but basically, it's helpful to your relationship if you can have open and honest
Right.
discussions with your partner.
Yep. A third thing that we found is taking vacations while we're in retirement is a must. Getting out of our normal routine in our home with our dog, grocery shopping, taking out the trash, cleaning the house, doing all of our normal stuff is great. We are spending time together, but doing something different, creative, exploring, traveling together or with another couple, stretching each other outside of our comfort zones to, go zip lining or go trekking for gorillas or,
So the thing is, when one of you says, "Hey, we really need to get away," the answer shouldn't be, "No, we can't afford it." The answer should be, "Okay, we should figure that out. Let's set aside some money. Let's put a budget together. Let's plan it together, and let's go somewhere."
It could even be
And
a
do
mini
it-
trip.
It can, but do it with open eyes and open heart, and just say, "You know what? You're right. We're not in sync right now. Let's go away for a couple days and find a way to get in sync and plan it out and do it."
Right.
It's going to make all the difference in the world to your relationship.
The fourth thing is to find activities to do together. Things that can create camaraderie. Activities that give you something to talk about later in the day or evening, or even maybe give you something to laugh about. And finally, finding activities that will expand your social network.
So we play golf together, which we both learned years ago, and we're at different levels, and sometimes it's frustrating for each other because of that. But if you can find something to do together and start together, like we did with pickleball, we are complete beginners, moving our way up to intermediate.
Right.
We started it together, and we're learning together. I'm not coaching Jody. We're reminding each other of the rules that we learned, and we're reminding each other on how to hit the ball. But it's not like you need to do this and you need to do that. So it's actually brought us closer together, this whole world of playing pickleball, which has been really good for us.
And it's increased our social network.
It has,
Which is
it
a
has.
big thing.
So the other thing is to, I don't think, for me anyway, find activities to do alone. I need some autonomy away from Jody, away from the house, away from the kids, some things that are important to me. And it expands your personal social circle. I have a men's group that meets down here on Marco once in a while, and we just get together and chat about life issues. We have breakfast together. And, I've met some great new people for that. I mean, you're doing some things on your own.
I do. I do yoga. I've got my community around that I do on my own, some nonprofit work. And, I spend a lot of time doing things with you, obviously.
Right.
But I also, like the richness that it adds to our relationship to do a few things by ourselves.
Right. The other thing this is probably the hardest thing to think about doing, but talking together about the tough topics. If you're stubborn and your wife says, if Jody says to me, "I want to talk about this," and I say, "I don't want to talk about it," that's not fair, and that's going to pull us apart. There's things like sex, downsizing, issues with the kids, whether we can afford to go away on vacation or not. You've got to be able to talk through these things together so you can hear what your partner says about it.
Yeah, and it's important to set the topic if you know it's going to be difficult. Set the topic up so you both feel comfortable, right? Acknowledge that changes may have taken place if you're talking about a topic that includes your physical well-being or your physical, your current physical state. And it also acknowledge that the conversation may take more than one time at the table.
And it could be that you just say, here's a technique. There's something I really need to talk to you about, and I'd like you to listen to what I have to say, and I don't want a response right now. I just want you to hear what I have to say. And let's take some time and maybe we'll talk about it again tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
Just setting these kind of rules together so you can talk about the tough topics. If you bury them, they're not buried.
Right. They don't go away.
They don't, that's the word I was looking for. They don't go away.
Definitely. Living in a home together can have its challenges. Being together every day for most of the day even makes it harder. So, if you think about the 6 things we just talked about to build a better marriage and build on your relationship, you can avoid some of the major pitfalls. So remember, effective communication, being vulnerable with your partner, taking vacations together.
I think finding activities to do together, new activities in particular, is really important. Finding things to do alone to give you some alone time. And also, you've got to have the courage to talk about some of the important matters that make a difference in your life.
If you like this video,
you're going to love this next one too.
50% of people who are 65 to 70 are still reporting to be sexually active. And then once we hit age 71 to 75, 40%. And then by the time we get to age 76 to 80, 25%. But the good news is that 20% of people who are in their 90s are reporting to still be sexually active.